You probably saw your own face before breakfast today. Then you may have seen it again in a dark phone screen, a front camera, or a video call. Your face follows you through the modern world, appearing in glass, photographs, profiles, and frozen little rectangles. But for most of human prehistory, a clear image of your own face was difficult to find. You knew the faces of everyone around you, yet your own existed mostly in their eyes. An ancient human might have seen a reflection in still water, but only when the water, light, and wind cooperated. One ripple could erase it. One movement could bend it into something unfamiliar. So how different would your mind feel if you almost never saw your own face clearly? Imagine waking tomorrow in a world without mirrors, cameras, photographs, polished windows, or reflective screens. You still have a face, but you cannot stop and inspect it whenever you want. You cannot check whether one side looks strange, whether your hair sits correctly, or whether an expression seems awkward. Other people can see all of that. You cannot. That sounds like a small inconvenience, but it changes the direction from which identity arrives. Today, identity often feels like an image we carry in front of us. For much of human history, identity was more likely to arrive through memory, action, kinship, and response. You learned who you were partly from what you did and from how your group treated you. This does not mean ancient people never saw themselves. A quiet pool could become a temporary mirror, and wet or polished stone could return a vague image. Dark natural surfaces sometimes caught a face, and later people made mirrors from polished stone, obsidian, and metal. But these images were usually dimmer, smaller, less stable, or less available than the reflection above a modern sink. The difference is not between self-awareness and no self-awareness. Humans did not need glass to know they existed, and a mirror test is not a complete measure of consciousness. The real difference is frequency, clarity, control, and permanence. A face in water arrived as an event. A face on a phone waits all day. An ancient person could still care deeply about appearance. People decorated bodies, styled hair, wore ornaments, painted skin, displayed scars, and signaled status. Beauty was not invented by the mirror, and vanity is not a modern disease. But caring about appearance is different from continuously inspecting and archiving it. Your ancestors could change their hair or paint their bodies, then walk away without seeing the result from every angle. They depended more heavily on trusted hands, social reactions, and the memory of how they were known. A capable hunter, patient caregiver, skilled maker, funny storyteller, or a reliable friend occupied a social identity larger than a face. Appearance mattered, but it competed with usefulness, courage, generosity, belonging, and reputation. Then reflections became more controllable. Polished stone and obsidian could hold an image longer than water, while metal mirrors later offered another durable surface. These early mirrors were not modern glass. They could be small, imperfect, costly, or uncommon. Still, they introduced a new possibility. The face could be summoned on demand. You no longer had to wait for still water or favorable light. A reflection could be held, turned, studied, and revisited. This was not the birth of the self, but it changed one of the tools through which the self could be observed. For the first time, being seen by others could be joined by repeatedly seeing yourself. A mirror creates a peculiar split in attention. You are the person inside the body, feeling hunger, warmth, tension, movement, and breath, but you are also the observer outside it, checking posture, symmetry, skin, expression, and signs of age. The face becomes an object that can be adjusted, compared, and judged. Psychologists have long studied how self-focused attention can make people compare themselves with standards. A mirror did not single-handedly create insecurity, but it can direct attention toward the gap between what is seen and what is expected. That gap can be useful when you are washing dirt from your cheek or treating an injury. But when inspection has no clear endpoint, the observer can remain awake long after the task is finished. Modern life multiplied the reflection beyond anything an early mirror could do. The bathroom mirror gives you one version, a photograph gives you another. The front camera reverses expectations, changes distance, and freezes expressions you never intended to study. A video call places your own face beside the people you are supposed to be listening to. Instead of reading only their expression, part of your attention keeps returning to yours. Then come selfies, tagged photographs, profile pictures, editing tools, and beauty filters. You do not encounter one reflection. You encounter a population of competing versions of yourself. Some are mirrored, some are frozen, some are selected, some are altered, and some are chosen by other people. This matters because the human brain is extraordinarily interested in faces. For our ancestors, another person's face carried urgent social information. It could signal trust, anger, fear, attraction, sickness, attention, belonging, or rejection. Reading those signals helped people cooperate, avoid conflict, protect children, choose allies, and survive inside a group. That system evolved mainly to interpret faces outside the self. Modern technology can redirect the same intense attention back toward the owner. Now you can examine yourself almost as though you were another person whose social value must be continuously assessed. The face-reading brain becomes a face-managing brain. The cost is not simply vanity. It may be a shift in where experience is located. Instead of living through the body, we begin watching the body from outside. A laugh becomes a question about how the laugh looked. A memory becomes a search for the photograph. A gathering becomes material for an image that may outlive the feeling that produced it. The self becomes easier to display, but perhaps harder to leave alone. We may lose some freedom to let expressions change, asymmetry exist, and the face remain unfinished. We may forget that a face was built first for seeing, speaking, eating, signaling, and meeting the world. It was not originally a permanent profile picture requiring daily maintenance. None of this means mirrors, cameras, or photographs are inherently bad. They help us groom, communicate, remember, create, play, and recognize change. But they also place an ancient mind inside an unprecedented hall of reflections. So the discomfort you feel when you see a photograph may not prove that your face is wrong. It may partly come from being asked to inspect, record, and compare that face more often than earlier humans ever could. Ancient faces lived in water, memory, recognition, and the eyes of people who knew them. Our faces follow us through glass and screens, waiting to be evaluated again. Maybe humans were never meant to turn the face into something they had to watch all day. For most of history, a face was not an image to manage. It was simply the place from which a person looked out at the world.